Hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I think this might be a fun topic. It's tightwad versus spendthrift, but also, is it possible you could be a tightwad spendthrift? There's something to think about. So let me start with, if you've never heard the word spendthrift, I had never heard it until I got Amy Decision's 3 books, which were newsletters put into the 3 books, which now the 3 books have been put into one big book that you can find on Amazon. And you can find that in my Amazon store link, by the way. That was the Tightwad Gazette. That was where I first heard of the word. What does spendthrift mean? Spendthrift, because you're not really being thrifty. But spendthrift is someone who just likes to spend money like there's no tomorrow on this, that, and anything else. So let me cover, I'm just going to list off a few of the obvious spendthrift things, especially what we see in modern day society. Always having to have the latest, greatest furniture and house decor. So, a year or two goes by, oh, this pattern is no longer popular. I want to get rid of all this and get all new furniture. And that applies to just about anything. Always, redecorating everything, buying all, just all new house decor so you can keep up with the Joneses and keep up with whatever somebody decided was the popular look for a home. Instead of buying all new furniture, because our furniture is still solid, but it's just getting dingy, I got myself some nice slip covers and they're working pretty good. I feel like I got new furniture. So that was way cheaper. So other things would be, especially for women. Women are bad at this one. So probably most of the stuff I'm going to mention is going to apply mostly to women. So if Tyler gets back in here, he can throw in what are some guy spendthrift things? Purses. I was surprised when I found out that years ago that women had like 10, 15 different purses to match every outfit. And I'm like, really? I just want one good purse that's going to function, that's going to do what I need it to do. And I'm happy. When it wears out, then I'll buy a new purse. The 2 that I made for myself, the rag style quilt purses, those have lasted me for like 10 years, longer than any store-bought purse. Let's see. Same thing goes with shoes, clothes, jewelry, and the like. Then you get into, this would probably apply more to guys, feeling like you always got to have the updated vehicle. So, and I was hearing about this, kind of blew me away too, that people will buy a vehicle and then in a year they decide they want to upgrade and they're still making payments on that vehicle. So that debt gets carried over into the debt of the new vehicle and so on and so forth. And it just keeps building and they never actually own a vehicle. Our newest vehicle is a 2011 that we bought several years ago. We paid only $5,000 for it. And it's a good little car. Let's see. And then you got, the skin and hair care products. That's another one that blows me away when I see some of these, let's get ready with me videos. And I'm kind of fascinated with them every now and then. I'm like, what all are they putting on their face? I mean, they've got like 15 different products they put on their face before they even start applying the layers and layers and layers of makeup. And then the false eyelashes to top it off. And most of these women are going into salons to get the lashes done. And that's like $100 a pop. I'm thinking, are you serious? And the nails too. When I was in high school and college, wearing false eyelashes and nails was something you didn't want people to know if you did it. The only time I wore a false nail was I was getting ready. I was all dressed up for a fancy event and one of my nails broke and it didn't look like the rest. So I did get some press-ons just so I could have that one nail so all my nails would match. And guess what happened? Dumb thing fell off while I was at the event. So what a waste of money. So anyway, but yeah, it wasn't like something everybody was proud of, the false eyelashes that go out to here. and and the nails that are like that long and you can't even do anything. Oh, of course, restaurants and coffee stands. Now, I have nothing against people treating themselves now and then. I think that's kind of what helps keep us feeling a little bit human. you know, uh, Going out to eat every once in a while isn't such a bad thing. Getting a special coffee at a coffee stand every now and then isn't such a bad thing. But when that's all you do and you're going into debt, thousands and thousands of dollars every month because of this kind of spend thrifting way, you got to really reevaluate your priorities. And like I've said before, Patrick and I probably go out to eat maybe once a year. And usually it's only because we had to go to town and we're trying to, if we have to spend the time and money, the fuel to go into town, we try to kill several birds with one stone while we're in there. And then it's like, well, you're in there, let's go ahead and go out to eat and just enjoy ourselves. But we don't go to a fancy schmancy restaurant either. And people who will buy coffee stand coffee at $5, $7, $8 a pop, sometimes 3 times a day. That's pretty spendthrifty. Yeah, and I could go on and on and on. I just wrote down some of the most obvious things. Now, let's get on to some of the obvious cheapskate habits that a lot of us probably already practice, if you're following me. And if you're not, maybe this will give you some good ideas of ways to save money. Cooking and baking from scratch, that opposed to going out to eat all the time or buying prepackaged foods that is not only more expensive to your health, but more expensive on your pocketbook. Making and repairing our own clothes or quilts, as the case may be. Repurposing everything, anything you can repurpose, just like in the Great Depression, you repurpose, you use it up, you make things last. Conserving water and electricity, like for us, it's, we find every way we can to conserve electricity, even though we're partially off grid because we do have solar power. We're also on the grid as far as power and water go, but we also collect rainwater. Growing your own food, not relying on paper products, whether not just the plates and the napkins, but the diapers, the feminine products, even the toilet paper. Some of these things go a little more extreme, maybe a little too extreme for some people, but a lot of people do practice these things, including myself. Any other disposable items that most people use, and they don't even think about the fact that, you don't have to have disposable things. Like I think last week I mentioned the cleaning wipes people use. They buy all these containers and containers and containers of cleaning wipes. I'm like, whatever happened with just a natural cleaning solution and a dishcloth? I mean, that's another thing I don't even think about because it surprises me such a product even exists, to be honest. Obviously, stretching those homemade meals, making the most of leftovers. In fact, I just made, I got some corned beef from Butcher Box because they only have it once a year. So I cooked up the corned beef in my slow cooker on our solar power. And we ate a little bit that night. And then I took the rest and made a really big batch of cold cannon with some of the dehydrated potatoes I'd put up, the dehydrated mashed potatoes from our garden, plus dehydrated cabbage and other things. The broth that was in there in the crock pot with the corned beef, I used that plus as much water as I had to use to rehydrate the potatoes. Now, the thing with using a broth like that, it does tend to make the mashed potatoes turn a little bit more tan in color. It sure adds to the flavor. Oh, the simple cleaning products. So, again, this kind of comes back to the couponing thing and all those jugs and bottles of all these cleaning products and the cleaning product for everything, when it can be so much simpler and cheaper than that. You can make your own homemade vinegar and use that to clean surfaces. You can use washing soda, ammonia, baking soda. So now, with all of that said, and obviously just like with the spendthrift habits, I could go on and on and on about the cheapskate habits. I mean, there's a ton of them, and a lot of us have different ways of practicing them. And I'm kind of wanting to crack down on some things and try to get back into being a little more conservative, like with water and stuff. Sometimes you get out of the habit of something for some reason, and then you realize, whoa, what am I doing? And so there's some things I want to start practicing again and do things that way, be better about it, and maybe find even more ways of conserving water, like when it comes to city water. We've got our rainwater too, of course, which that saves us a lot because we don't consume the city water. We will only consume the rainwater that we collect and then filter. So that gets used for cooking. That's what the chickens get, what we make our coffee, tea with, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not hooked up to use it as shower or anything like that. So that's where the water thing bothers me, is like showers and stuff. So I'm thinking about starting to collect as much water as possible when we're showering, and then using that for flushing the toilet. That's kind of one of the things I'm thinking about doing. I keep saying it and I forget. So is it possible in your tight, watery ways to be a spendthrift at the same time? I'm going to say yes, because I'm guilty of this sometimes. So how would some of this play out? Let me give you some ideas. So sometimes when we get like this we see a really great idea, or we see other YouTube channels buying things like freeze dryers. Sorry to those of you who have freeze dryers. This is not a slam against you. Please do not accuse me of hating on the freeze drying community. But I use it as an example because so many channels out there have one, and they got theirs for free. They didn't have to buy it. They got this $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 piece of equipment for free, but not really for free. They didn't have the monetary cost, but there is still a cost because the company has to be able to get something out of it in order for them to do that. And that would be for the channel to promote their product. So that's a payoff. So if they're going to promote the product that they're using, and hopefully they are actually happy with it and believe in it, you have to wonder, though, are some people just saying this because they're getting kickback off of every product that gets sold? And then you've got the problem with every time, and I do the same thing. I have affiliates, but I hope everybody knows me well enough to know I'm going to be absolutely honest about anything product I've tried and use and am happy with. If I'm not happy with it, I will tell you. Just like how we stopped doing business entirely with the EMP shield for several reasons. And I deleted all the videos and removed it from my upload defaults. And there's been a few other products that I was initially happy with, but then I realized I'm not happy with them anymore. Whether it be the product over time ended up being garbage, or the company I was not impressed with because of some things they pulled. I'm not going to keep doing business with it. Now, let me tell you something about the EMP shield. As far as commission, we made the best commission off of that. Yet it was still worth it to me to cut that one off because I don't want my name attached to that anymore, because it's bad business policy and I don't agree with it. So anyway, so I bring that up, that you don't really know when you're watching these channels, do they really mean what they say about the product that they're using, or are they promoting it because of the money they get off of every item that is sold through their affiliate link? These are questions you have to ask yourself. And I'm not saying any of them are not. I'm sure there's a lot of them that are just like me. They're going to be honest about the products, and I hope they are, about the products they're using and promoting. But even if they are 100% honest and it's their thing, it doesn't mean it has to be something you run out and buy, whether it be the latest, fanciest Cadillac of all blenders or canners or grain mills. It doesn't matter. It may not suit your pocketbook or your needs, and that's what you have to look at. And we can too easily, in our quest to be more self-sufficient and frugal, find ourselves investing in things we really don't need. And we could have either spent less on for something that was work for us as individuals just as good, or not needed that particular product altogether. So that's why I bring up that. And the freeze dryer one, I bring up a lot because of the push. And I've actually heard people say, and had people tell me, like, this is the only way to put up food. No, it's not. No, it's not. People were putting up food in many other ways long before freeze dryers were even invented. So that's why I pick on that one a lot. And because it is one of the most expensive items when it comes to that. A few other things would be on the opposite end of that, buying cheap products to save money, but then those cheap products fall apart in a few months, and then you got to buy another cheap product to replace that, and then another cheap product to replace that. And it's like, how many times do you do that before you find that you've spent just as much money doing that when you could have spent more money on a quality item that's going to last? Now, there's some things I don't mind going cheap with. It depends on what it is, but there's certain things I want it to be quality. I want it to last. I don't want it to be something I'm going to have to replace every few months or once a year. And especially if it's anything in regards to putting up food, taking care of our garden, making clothes, having a good quality sewing machine. I think these things are important. So there are times we can go too cheap and it ends up costing us more money. Okay, let's see if there's any other things that we could consider that maybe some of us could probably practice being a little more frugal rather than being a cheapskate spendthrift. Let's see. Oh, this one hits home. The secondhand shopping. So going garage selling, yard selling, hitting thrift stores and whatnot. It can be a really great way to find items that you need, such as a dehydrator, a freeze dryer, a canner. Remember, I did that video, same place we got the car. It was an estate sale is what it was. They had 2 all-American canners. Now I already had one for myself. I have the big one, not the big one, the second big to the biggest. But there were 2. One looked like it had never been used. One looked like it had maybe been used once. And they were only wanting $5 a piece for them. So yes, I absolutely do shop secondhand, whether it be Facebook Market or physical yard and garage sales or thrift stores. A lot of times you're going to find high quality items for hardly any money. I kept the smallest one for myself for if I want to do just small batches and don't want to heat up my big canner, and then gave the next one up, it was a little bigger than that, to my daughter-in-law if she ever gets into canning, because she was expressing interest in it. But yeah, all-American canners are expensive. And so $5 at a garage sale is a pretty screaming deal. And I've done videos in the past where I've done like some of my favorite garage sale finds, secondhand finds. And I have found a lot of Patrick too. Tools like his metal lathe, his wood lathe. These were all secondhand finds that he paid. His drill press, a really nice 1940s drill press. He paid very little money for these items and their quality. So we're getting both. We're spending less money and getting quality. However, you can be at that same garage sale and see a lot of other things that just you think you got to have. Oh, this could be handy. Or, wow, this t-shirt's only 50 cents. Or this cute little trinket with the chicken on it is only $1. And you can find yourself buying stuff you really don't need, and it's just going to take up space. And so that's one of those areas where you just really got to rein yourself in, because just because something, and this goes for brand new items at a store that are on sale. Oh, this top is only $5, but do you need it? No, but it's only $5. Do you think you'll wear it more than once? I don't know. Well, I made that mistake too. This cheap thing, I might have wore it once and then it got buried and I forgot all about it. There could be a lot more, but my last one on the list is, let's say you have something, whether it be your car, some kind of piece of equipment, and it's got things that are starting to fall apart on it. Maybe your car, you don't want to spend the money on the oil changes. Even if you're doing them yourself, you still got to buy the oil and the filter. And you're too much of a cheapskate to do that. I actually saw on one of those extreme cheapskate videos I was talking about, this woman was actually a millionaire. She was the same one that was feeding people cat food and telling them it was tuna fish. She's actually a millionaire. And I don't think she got to be a millionaire just by being a cheapskate. She just was I think she was a millionaire because of the job that she did. But this same woman drove this old, broke, worn out car, and it had things that needed to be replaced. Or she could be putting her life on the line even, or cause even more damage to the car by not getting it repaired. And then it costing her a lot more money because now she's going to have to get a new car. That's the kind of things I'm talking about. So we don't have to upgrade everything and keep up with the Joneses, but sometimes things, if we don't keep up on them because we're being too cheap, we don't want to spend the money on oil for the car. We don't want to buy a new oil filter. We don't want to sew a patch on this quilt or stitch up this hem that's coming apart because maybe it's too much work. Maybe we're being thrifty with our time. Yet, in time, those things are only going to get worse, and now it is definitely going to cost money because now you're going to have to replace the item. So that's just some stuff to think about. I just thought this would be kind of some fun food for thought to help us kind of look. I mean, most of you that follow me don't really, you probably don't fit in the first category of the spend thrifting habits. And a lot of you probably already practice a lot of the things that were in the second category of the obvious, most common tightwad habits, which, the funny thing about the tightwad habits, most of these things were just the way people lived before we became so engulfed in consumerism. People didn't have paper dishes. They had cloth napkins and real dishes. I mean, some people, that's all they use is paper stuff because they don't want to ever wash dishes. They just want to keep spending the money and then throwing the stuff away. But as far as the third category, this is something I think all of us at some point can stop and say, okay, is there any of my cheapskate habits that are turning out to be spendthrift habits that I can change? Or just finding ways just to be a little more frugal. Maybe we already are being pretty frugal, but maybe we can look around and find, just like I was talking about with the water, getting myself in the habit of putting a bucket in there. So I'm taking a shower or whatever, catching as much water as I can, and then using that to flush the toilet or water the garden. See, we had a Ford Maverick that burned oil and was on its last leg anyway. I saved the used oil from our newer car to burn in the Maverick. It kept on burning too. Oh, wow. I do roadside furniture pickups and refinish them. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I have gotten some really great things for free. Right. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I enjoy being here myself and chatting with you guys and just hanging out and having fun. Thanks for coming in. Take care and God bless.